How do we value a unique home? Hi, I'm Sam Ashdown, and this is my co-director, Phil Jones, and this is your expert guide from Ashdown Jones, the Lake District. Here in the Lake District, valuing a property is far from straightforward because there are just so many factors to take into account. Like the views. How can you put a price on a lake view, for example? The historical importance. The property could have been there for hundreds of years and have a fantastic historical significance in the area. How do you put a value on that? Or the cachet of the area, like this home, right on the lakefront, probably one of the best views across Windermere. How can you possibly put a valuation on a property like that? Well, that's our job at Ashdown Jones, and I'd like to share with you exactly how we do that. Of course, unique homes in any location can be really tricky to value. So how do you place a monetary amount, for example, on a property with lake frontage on Windermere when there are only perhaps 100 or so properties that share that privilege? We were asked to visit a home near Grasmere that was on the market with another agent, but the levels of interest were disappointing. Let's anonymise it by calling it the Manor, to protect the confidentiality of the owner. The challenge for us lay in the fact that it was already on the market, so that meant that the price was anchored. Not only had it been fixed in the homeowner's mind that this price was achievable, but it had also left a digital footprint of its price online via the portals like Rightmove, Zoopla, etc., and other sites too. So what could we do to value the home accurately at Ashdown Jones? Well, we looked at 5 points of reference. Number 1, we looked at the existing price it was on the market at and the interest that that price had generated. Number 2, we looked at comparable properties, which wasn't easy to do, but certainly we could look at the properties that would be considered to be competitive to this particular property. Number 3, we looked at all the sold prices in the area to ensure that the manor wasn't trying to break the price ceiling. Number 4, we looked at the price per square foot. How much house was somebody actually buying for the money? And number 5, a new one, we ran the property through some online valuation tools. So let's go through these one at a time. Number 1, the existing price. We discovered from the homeowner that the original valuation from the other agent had been $800,000, but he had decided he would like to launch it to market at $850,000, £50,000 above the original valuation. After 3 months, the interest in the property had been really disappointing, so he decided reluctantly to reduce the property value to $800,000. The viewings in the first 6 months were only 2, and actually there were none after the price reduction. So the conclusion, just for this particular aspect of the property evaluation, was that the price may still be too high at $800,000. Then we looked at number 2, comparables. Now, as the manor is unique, finding any comparable houses in the area is tricky. But we did find 3 that may be competing. In other words, if somebody had that amount of money, what else they could look at and potentially buy in the local area. We found 3, one at $595, one at $647, and one at $750. Our conclusion from the comparables element of the valuation was that the manor is not competing well and it looks expensive by comparison. So let's move on to number 3, the solds. Looking at precedent, so in other words, what other properties have sold for in the local area, can give an indicator as to the value of the property we want to put a valuation figure on. Our research showed 5 relevant sales in the last 12 months. 1.1, 897, 695, 615 and 366. So what we discovered was the manor was not breaking the price ceiling for the area, as the first 2 properties at 1.1 and 897 had sold for more than the manor's existing price over the past year. So that was good news. Moving on to number 4 is the price per square foot element. Now this is fairly unusual in the UK for a standard residential property. It's more commonly used for things like city centre flats or big estates. The square foot doesn't take into account any amenities like an amazing view, or any disadvantages like a public footpath through the garden. But, however, it can be a useful guide to see how much house a buyer would actually get for their money. Now, we at Ashdown Jones include any attached building, even if it's a garage, but we exclude any detached building unless it's actual residential accommodation, for example, a holiday cottage. Now, we looked at several price per square footages in the area, and the price per square foot ranged from £249 for the bottom one, which was Highfell at £720,000, to £665 per square foot at the top for quite a small property, Clover Nook, at just £340,000. But that's because it had such a tiny square footage area at only 511 square feet. Now that brought the manor in at £394 per square foot, which we calculated was about 7% over the average price for the area, so really not too much of a concern for us. The fifth element we look at when putting a value on a unique home is an instant online valuation tool. They're relatively new to the UK, but they are becoming increasingly popular with homeowners that are looking for that quick answer to the question, how much is my home worth? Now please try out our instant online valuation tool at valuation.ashdownjones.co.uk. But one quick caveat, for unique homes the results are very unpredictable. But however, we would love to get your feedback. So give it a go, it's free, it only takes 30 seconds and you'll get an instant online valuation on the screen that you can then share your thoughts with us about. We ran our property, the manor, through 8 online valuation tools, including our own. And they were disappointing because the lowest online valuation was only £417,000. The highest was 671, and the average from all the 8 that we tried was 586. So our conclusion was using an online valuation tool for the manor was just not a valid source of information. So to summarise, the original valuation of £800,000 was probably about right. Properties have sold for higher in the area. The slightly higher price per square foot is justified by the property's extremely high standard of refurbishment. So if it had gone at £800,000, it may well have had earlier interest than it has. So how did the story end for the manor? After several months on the market, the owner accepted an offer of £740,000. That's only 92.5% of asking price and just 87% of the original marketed price of £850,000. Now, most sellers we find expect to attain better than 95% of their asking price. So in other words, if your property was on the market for £1 million, you might hope to get £950,000. That seems to be perfectly reasonable. And it's usually fully achievable as long as you have the right marketing strategy and that it goes on the market at the right price right at the very start. So what we'd love you to do next is number 1, try out our instant online valuation tool at valuation.ashdownjones.co.uk. And number 2, please drop us a line and tell us all about your unique home. You can find us at team@ashdownjones.co.uk or give us a call on 015 394 88811. We'd love to hear from you.